Join us again today as we talk more about Brad's ideas for a new proposed D&D 5th edition class. Welcome back, everybody who's been here before, and welcome to all you folks that are new. Today, we're going to be following up a previous video, which, if I do everything right, there should be a link somewhere over in here, Andy pointing you towards it. Yeah, so the previous video and this video are about some ideas Brad has for a new class for 5th edition. So definitely check out the other video, and let's see what Brad has today.
Thank you. So yeah, again, thanks for being back. And looked like there was, in relation, quite a few of you that were interested in this. So hopefully you come back to check this out. First of all, one of our frequent commenters on our posts suggested the title of Sage for this class, which I like. I didn't intellectual, academic, scholar, or something. Sage is perfect. It's right up D&D's alley, right? So seems too good not to deal with. So we're gonna call it Sage as the overall class, and then today we're going to be talking about subclasses. We already talked about my ideas for the class in general. I'm going to delve into that just a little bit more in the beginning. I did mention that, probably only utility spells, special instances of perhaps a damage dealing cantrip, and only from the Wizard and Bard spell list. I mean, you're not a cleric or a paladin, so you're not getting any divine stuff. You're not a druid or a ranger, so you're not getting the nature divine stuff. You're not, you don't have a patron, so you're not a warlock. You weren't born with sorcerer's powers, so the ones you can learn. The caveat to that would be one of the subclasses is focused on religion, and during religion, during all your studies of religion, then one or some of the subclass spells would probably be from the cleric and or paladin list. But for the most part, not allowed to study, learn spells that cause harm. And it's possible that an evil or even chaotic alignment may allow a PC to get in some damage dealing, because if they have ill intent, they're not going to care if they're breaking a rule about learning damage dealing spells. So if you're, from the get, you're making your character to sneak around behind the teacher's back, or they're studying with one wizard or whatever, sneak around behind their back and learn damage spells on their own. That could happen. That's a real thing. So
not to break your train of thought here, Brad, as I say, knowledge is power, and power corrupts. So be evil, read a book kind of moments.
Not exactly. I mean, to some extent, perhaps, but I'm not suggesting that your character going in with a neutral or good alignment of some sort would get too much information and then be propelled into evilness. But if a part of your backstory is you're trying to learn these things because your village was destroyed by orcs and you want to learn damage dealing spells, and the only way that you can see to do that is old Hank down the road teaching you some wizard stuff, but when he goes to sleep, you're sneaking around and studying his damage dealing spells. But with that, I think there should come a chance that every time you use one of those spells, you might have to roll a chaos die and see whether or not something backfires on the spell, because you didn't learn it through the proper channel, so you didn't learn it correctly, maybe. Okay. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
And another option would be if a scholar has a more varied and wide-ranging field of study due to the required classes as part of their overall curriculum than a wizard or bard who only studies and practices skills from a specific field for the most part. Where a scholar would study history, politics, geography, international studies, lore, medicine, math, sciences, etc. That's where the learned spells come from. That's you don't have the divine stuff, the warlock stuff. Now you can always dip. You can take a 1, 2, 3 level dip into that and get the spells associated with those levels. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. Then I have a list of spells here that would go, but I'm just not going to list them off. But I'll just hit a couple of the highlights that would be useful to a scholar of some sort of sage. Identify, comprehend languages, detect traps. Mending, find familiar is always a good one for anybody. Everybody likes pets. Protection from evil and good. Remove curse. Legend lore. So if you're digging into old tomes or archaeological artifacts, you want to identify something. You want to remove a curse from it. Those types of things. I think a professor would. So we'll get into that in a minute when we talk about subclasses. But there would obviously be a difference between a professor and a student. A teacher and a pupil. There's just going to be obvious differences. But we'll get to that. We talked about the savings throws being in intelligence and charisma or wisdom. If you choose one of intelligence or charisma, then you can take wisdom. That if you're a professor, you've had time to build up some wisdom. If you're a student, probably not. But also, if you're a professor, then you could make some hay on being charismatic. And, what people taking your classes and stuff, or just intelligence in general. Whereas a student, that's just you're not going to have the same starting stuff, but you will accumulate things more quickly because you're in learn mode. And you probably even top out higher because the professors at some point started spending all their time learning, as far as things started spending some of their time teaching. So they wouldn't have learned as much on the top end. Make sense?
I believe so, yeah.
So we want to talk about subclasses. When you select, and I know this isn't a normal thing, but when you select a subclass in this class, you also need to select a background during that level up when you choose your subclass. The reason for that is only so that you can be more specific in your spell lists, basically, in proficiencies and skills. So you can really kind of hone in on what you want this character to be. Example, professor. Now, are you a professor of philosophy? Are you like a martial arts teacher? Are you teaching just general kind of, STEM classes, whatever? So to zero in more closely on what you want to do, if you want to do this, is choose a background. Is it the STEM stuff, like science, technology, engineering, math? Are you a professor that does that? History, archaeology, anthropology, philosophy, the martial arts I mentioned. Are you studying medicine? Are you studying religion, which is where you might come across some of those cleric or paladin spells. If you're studying religion, it's very possible that you could come across something and have a god be happy enough with you that you could be able to use that. Perhaps. And also, you could look to the knowledge cleric and the scribe's wizard for an outline of this, or I'm going to. Then you have the student, which is basically the same, but I said that they progress more quickly, top out higher, and I also am considering a roll of a die. If you choose to be a student, roll the die to see how far along in your studies you've gotten. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would obviously limit if you roll in a lower number of years that you completed studying. You would have less knowledge to start with. but the more accumulation because you're starting earlier, so you have more time to accumulate. And then top end. For the backgrounds, it's basically the same as the professors. Also, you can look at the knowledge cleric and the wizard for that, the scribe's wizard. Number 3, the conservatory. See the professors again for the different emphases. But in this, you're also looking at only 2 background choices as I see them now. You're a librarian or you're a curator. Are you going to be working in a library where people are going to come and, want your help in finding the things that they want to study? Are you going to run across something crazy there? Or are you a curator at a museum or some such thing where you're dealing with a lot of anthropologists and archaeologists and a lot of people coming in, just like citizens off the street, to see what you're putting out there? Doctor, obviously you can look to the health clerics stuff for that. Backgrounds there, surgeon or general practitioner. Are you a MASH doctor for the military? Or you're a medical student? And again, that's only so you can hone down, if you're a surgeon or a general practitioner or whatever, you still also have to decide if you're in the city or you're a roaming doctor that goes around from village to village fixing people up, or you're just a small town doctor, what's your deal? But it just helps you hone in better on your background and getting the proper spells and proficiencies and skills that you desire. Engineers, there's all kinds of engineers. You can take some of your stuff from the professor stuff, some of it from artificer probably. Backgrounds in that, your normal like structural engineering, hydraulics. Are you building aqueducts and bathhouses and such? Alchemist, maritime. Are you a shipbuilder? And arcana engineering, where you would take man-made objects and infuse them with magical essence. So that could be anything from a simple household product like a tea kettle that you don't have to make a fire to boil water from, or as much as a magically infused siege engine. And your structural engineer would have to obviously be there building the siege engine, but then you come along and infuse it with magical powers. Are you a politician? Get a lot of that stuff from the same professor stuff. Then your backgrounds are like legislator, magistrate, barrister. Are you work in the Capitol? Are you a politician? Are you more like a local roaming judge that goes from village to village? Are you a barrister that's going to advocate for the defendant, or are you a prosecutor for the system? And then in that, you would have a choice to emphasize rogue or bard skills, depending on how you wanted to play that. Yeah? Like if you're a politician and you're shady, you're a rogue. If you're a politician that goes around with a smile, then you're more bardy. You're more of a performer. Does that make sense?
I can see it. I think it'd just be, personally, I think it'd just be bard through and through, but I'm about to see what you're getting.
Oh, there's definitely some shady politicians that could be rogues.
Well,
I'm not saying that you should go be an assassin or something.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just whenever I picture rogue, it's like a pickpocket or like a someone breaking into places. Like
right.
It's
no,
not,
I get
not
that.
so much the guy that's skimming from the account books. Like that's just not what I picture as far as rogue.
Oh, that's not what I'm saying either. What I'm saying is someone that is got his fingers on the strings of some conspiracy. Rogue that way. Like in the rogue class, there's a mastermind rogue, kind of like that, except not.
All right. Well, I'll take your word for it.
Fair enough. And by the way, these are all just things I'm thinking of right now. None of this is in stone. This is just all notes. Artist, that's obviously very bardy. Then you musicians, sculptors, painters, writers, dancers, whatever. And then if I do away with the politicians, which I may well, because I got 8 subclasses here, which you don't need right away for sure. But I like this one a lot. Is the intelligentsia. So like you're a spy, or you're an administrator that helps run the spy network, or you're in the support network. And for an idea of that, you can look at the background that's already available in D&D Beyond of the faction agent. So, there's going to be a whole network of people out there. Maybe this guy's running a bar and he's passing information along, and whenever your spy comes to town and gives him the secret knock or whatever, then he knows to take care of him and do the things, and whatever it is. And if you take the spy, then you're going to have some more hand-to-hand combat skills that you could take for some monk stuff on the unarmed combat kind of thing. You could also be bardy or rogue, depending on what your cover legend is. And obviously, each subclass would have their own specific set of spells that you get as you advance up, just like any other subclass that's available now. Yeah, so I need to know, out of those 8, how many subclasses you think I should have, which subclass of those you think would play best, and out of those subclasses that you choose, what you like and not like about them. And if we're going to get rid of, say we're going to get rid of politician, but keep intelligentsia, is there anything from the politician that needs to swipe over to the intelligentsia? Other than, you could put a politician in the intelligentsia because he's part of that network. But I hope you understand what I'm asking. So, also, Charbroil Beefcake, another shout out, mentioned that he had made up a bunch of spells and the such specifically for the sage that he made back in the day. I've not ruled that out either. Especially for each subclass, there might be a spell or some spells, if I can't find exactly what I'm looking for in the available spell list, that I will make to fit what I need it to do. Obviously, Bobby's going to be a huge collaborator on that, to make sure that, as in all of this, just to make sure I don't make anything that's broken one way or another. Either it's too good and Bobby can't kill me with a Tarrasque, or it's not good enough, he can kill me with a puff of wind. So there's that. Also, you can look forward to more of these. I don't know how regular they'll be. I work on it all the time, but I don't know how often we'll have time to film it, or how often I'll have something, my notes collaborated enough to have it filmed. But you should be getting this regularly until it busts out at some point. Maybe months from now, maybe years from now, who knows. But we're going to keep working on it, and you'll get more of this. And in the meantime, like I said, give me the comments. I want to know what you think. I want to know what the people out there that play these games regularly, problems that they may see with it, things they'd like to see that I haven't mentioned, etc. and so forth. So hook a brother up, help a brother out, and let's make this a collaborative effort. You got any questions about anything, Bob?
No. I think I pretty well followed all that. So,
any notes on anything you would do differently other than what we've already talked about?
No. I mean, I see where you're coming from on pretty well all of it. So,
and like I said, I don't expect to have 8 subclasses by the time this pops off, but I do need to know which ones y'all like and which ones you don't. I do know a couple that's going to be there no matter what, because they fit into the world that I'm building. Spoiler, I'm building a world. And they work into the whole idea of this is I'm in this world, there's a setting that I needed this class to occupy. And so we're going to do that.
Yeah. Okay, Brad. It's possible that I liked the way you said it, but you said something about someone had more of a religious focus.
Well, right here, if you're a professor or a student and you're teaching religion or studying religion.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to seminary school and it's not at the church, you know what I mean? Or you're studying comparative religions or historical religions, whatever the deal is, you're studying religions.
Okay.
So, at an institution of higher learning.
Okay. So I when you first mentioned it before you got into these, I took it to be more like that you actually are studying like a specific church's background or something.
No, I'm not. I don't want you to be a priest when you graduate.
Well, no, you don't necessarily have to be. I mean, it could be for historical reasons or whatever. But
Well, so say that again.
it could be like
No, not that. What you said before that made me answer that.
it doesn't. You don't have to be a priest. It can be for just like historical reasons or whatever.
Yeah, no, before that. What made me say that?
Oh, you said something about focusing on religion, and I didn't.
Right.
I was thinking more like to use a current example. As I understand it, the Catholic Church has a number of documents stashed away somewhere, and it'd be like studying those, but not necessarily being a priest.
Yeah, like that. Or being at a university studying religion, comparative religions, a specific religion, whatever. Just so if you were studying those things to become a priest or whatever, then you would be a cleric, right? Or a paladin, perhaps, or whatever. If you're, I guess in this student part, then you could be, or even the professor.
Well, I guess. Okay. Here's this isn't a problem what you have. It's just my thoughts.
You're right.
This is the flashback to 3.5. There's like 1,000,000,001 classes to work with. There, if I'm recalling correctly, you did have interplay between these where you weren't necessarily a cleric. Like, there's a prestige class for wizards and sorcerers that is like it's divine something, but the idea is like you're not a cleric, like you're a wizard, but you have declared yourself for this god, and so you do get a couple divine-ish powers out of the deal, but you're not a cleric.
Okay.
You're still primarily a wizard. Now not that particular example, but
Right. Well, this isn't that.
right, yeah, not that particular example, but
Right.
but you also have under you had the 1,000,000,000 domains that you had to choose from as a cleric, and one of them was the magic domain, which allowed you access to arcane spells, and you had like the knowledge domain, and again I know that's a cleric, but I feel like there's a somewhere in the middle there where you could be the researcher, the wizard type, but your interest is this specific church, and not necessarily from a comparative religion, but you're specifically like, I want to know all about Lathander or whatever.
Right. Okay. So I'm down with that. That for sure. Right. You could come at it from a comparative religion where you want to compare Lathander to Saloon to whatever, or you could just be really, really down with Kellenborg. I mean, whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're studying that, but you haven't declared for that god, like in your other example. So you're not a cleric, and I know that in the other one it wasn't either, but not at all. You don't have to declare for a god. I mean, you have to if you want those deity powers. I mean, if you want to take a dip into cleric for that, by all means.
Well, I know you're talking about for another setting, but like if you're to apply this to the Forgotten Realms, you're a fool if you don't declare for a god. Period. Because your soul will be destroyed at the end of it whenever you die.
Well, if you believe that.
No, that's what happens.
Well, okay. Well, but I'm sure there's people that don't believe that because they haven't seen what happens after death.
And those people are rightly considered fools because the gods literally walk among the mortals.
Well, fair enough. You can declare for a god. You just don't have to.
And so that's what I'm saying. Because people they can declare their worship without being like, "Hey, I'm doing this to get cleric powers." Like, no, like please, like umbrally, don't destroy my ship whenever I go on the ocean.
I get it, but that's not even declaring for one specific god. That's praying to whatever god's necessary to. I mean, there are those that do declare for one specific god.
Yeah, okay. Again, I know this is Forgotten Realms specific stuff, but there you venerate a specific god. Like this is like my like Lathander's my guy or whatever,
Or with the halflings with the hospitality god or whatever it is.
Sure, but that doesn't stop you from praying to the other gods.
Right.
Because all the gods acknowledge that, like again, the Umberly example. Lathander's not going to be like, well, you said you're for me.
Right.
you're not going to pray to Umberlee just because you're going out in the ocean. It's like, no, you're going to pray to Umberlee because you're going out in the ocean. Of course, Umberlee's a really terrible example because even it's still a 50-50 chance she's just going to destroy your boat anyway. There's a reason why she's called the bitch goddess.
I get that, and they can have that, and and you can't even in this. You can declare for a god, but you don't have to. And maybe whatever in this world that I'm building, you don't if you don't declare for a god, you don't just get destroyed for. I mean, maybe, but nobody knows that for sure in this one. So if you're an agnostic and you want to study religions, go at it. If you're down with Kellenvor and you want to study him, do that. No big deal. But you don't have to, and you're not going to burn in eternity if you don't. Maybe. Don't know.
I don't even know how you wind up burning in eternity in the realms. I guess you followed Asmodeus as your god.
Perhaps.
But you're a fool if you do that anyway.
Or you went to work for Vecna and ended up in Iverness.
Yeah, I mean, the way you wind up in the hells, what happens there? I believe that's when another god doesn't claim your soul.
It's just the leftover place.
And then, like, the demons or devils claim it. And you wind up as the lowest, either a Lemire in hell, and I don't remember what it is for a demon. But yeah, you're reborn in the devil hierarchy. You're reborn as a Lemire. Everything that you were is gone, and now you're a Lemire. And if you survive, you level up to whatever the next level demon, next level devil is, and keep working your way up until hopefully you become a Balor, which are the generals and the armies, and then somehow wind up as one of the actual devils in the hierarchy.
Yeah, we ain't gonna worry about that right now in our world.
So yeah. But like I said, I'm not 100% certain on like the base souls for that, because like if you don't believe, you wind up in the wall of the faithless. So I think these are people that did believe, but either turned their back on their god's beliefs, or their god just didn't take them because they did something that he or she didn't care for. So, like being a follower of Bane, but not actually conquering anything, kind of deal.
But we ain't gonna have to worry about that, unless if you're gonna take this and play it in the Forgotten Realms, which is fine, I'm sure. In which case, you might have to tweak a few things as a dungeon master to make it work, like that. Oh, well, while I'm thinking about one thing real quick. He is. That's it.
I don't know what your shirt says. Okay.
That was a Gen Con shirt.
Yeah, I see that. It's on the...
Does it have a thing?
Yeah, the question mark.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I got. You got anything else?
No, I just, like I said, I just being like a church scholar, but not necessarily a cleric or a priest or whatever.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah, because like what you're talking about, as far as I'm aware, does also exist in the realms. As far as like people that do do comparative religious stuff. As far as more, that does exist. People do talk about the metaphysical beyond.
Right, of course.
Things. So I wasn't trying to.
We don't know what's going on at Strixhaven or
Yes. So I wasn't trying to imply 100%.
Oh, I know.
Just that I took it a different way, and
No, that's hashing these things out is what it's all about.
Yeah, because there's.
just because I think it's a good idea doesn't necessarily make it a good idea.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to imply it's a bad idea.
Oh, I know.
But I just know there's a lot of weird interplay with the way religion works in a lot of the settings, because like not every priest is a cleric, for instance.
Right.
There's all kinds of people that lead congregations and denominations that have no divine powers.
Right, of course.
There are some people that have divine powers.
Well, that's why I said when they could be going to seminary. I mean, that's for that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not declaring for a god and accepting his divine favor in the form of magical offerings. They're just...
Yeah, well, even beyond that, depending on the edition and everything, maybe I just missed it in the description. I've never been 100% clear on, like, do the gods just choose people, give them, like, hey, accept me and you get these powers, or just, here's your powers, you work for me now.
I think it could be any number of ways. You can be For instance, in our game, my ranger is at some point maybe going to take a cleric dip. And that is going to happen because Kellenvor chose me. But, because I'm special. But then there's also the ones that this is what I want. I want to pray to this God. I want to show it. Then and eventually I have to give it its favor. I'm sure it goes all the ways.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like I said, I'm not 100% certain because I must have missed it, but because I'm sure it explains it somewhere, and I know that there's different positions, like the ones that are literally called the chosen. They are literally chosen by the deity, but that's well after they're born and they've done something that they've been like,
Sure,
this person can advance my cause.
Well, like Kellenvor's Doom Guides.
Well, I mean, I know from previous editions, anyway. That's just essentially a subclass. That's a more specific type of cleric to Kellenvor. That's still not on the level of the chosen.
I didn't even know they were a playable thing. I just thought it was part of the lore.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So at least in older editions, you choose cleric.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then at some point, some of the gods have prestige classes.
Okay, well let's not talk about. That's just going to confuse me on this.
But the concept is like say you're follower of Kellenvor, you can be like, okay, I hit this level, I meet the prerequisites, I can become a Doom Guide, I get these extra powers on top of my cleric powers, and So 5th edition probably.
Well, that's kind of what we're doing here.
Yeah. So 5th, since I haven't read thoroughly through it, I'm assuming is a case of if you're a cleric of Kellenvor, like, do they just call you a Doom Guide automatically, or?
That's what I was playing it.
Okay. So yeah.
I mean, if that happens and Kellenvor comes in my dreams and says, "Hey, I need you," and I agree to do it, and yes, I would assume that I would at that point be a Doom Guide.
Okay. So yeah.
But that's just what I was assuming. I didn't.
Yeah, and that's just a change between editions where instead of making it an actual like prestige class, it's just a matter of this is what the clerics that got are called kind of thing, and that's that's what happens between editions. So
fair. Yes. And when we start hashing the things, once we've got that skeleton of it, as it were, and we're fleshing things out, then definitely I want to know about the other prestige classes in 3.5 and Pathfinder and things to see if any of those things work better in this. But I do want this to mostly be compatible 5e.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got you. Definitely going for 5e. I'm just spinning my tales of the days of yore to tell you where I'm coming from mentally on.
Yeah, totally
get
that. I didn't take it any other way. I didn't take it bad, nothing. But what I'm saying is, specifically, they're about 3.5 Pathfinder, which is the closest ones. I can see where there would be things about that would fit in here, but I just don't know what they are. But I can see how that could happen. But we can definitely go through that later on. Is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
But early on in that, I would rather look at that as a reaction rather than an action. This is the action. I want to get it all out there.
No, I got you.
Then the reaction would be, okay, well, that works there. I bet that works in here. Now let's fix this to where it works in here.
If I can find my notes, I should. There was a couple classes I was trying to make in 3.5. I should try to find those.
You should try to find those. What are they?
Well, one, I think this was going to be a prestige class, but I don't recall. The idea was, it was like an elementalist, where you're a wizard or sorcerer, but you're focused on specifically the elemental spells.
Right. So you look a little bit like a Way of the Four Elements monk, a little bit, where you're like punching people with air. Your spells are like going to be fire and wind.
Right, and yeah, at least I think that's what I was doing, because I know that there's one that focuses exclusively on an element that you can take, but mine is more broadly the elements.
Okay. What was the other one?
Then the other was, I think I called it a prismage. The idea was that all the spells focus on mirrors and light and things like that. So, because I realized there wasn't quite enough with mirrors by itself, but if I added light, then I'd added the prismatic spells, and so. But the main goal was to basically make a thing that could basically go up to a mirror and transform the mirror into a gateway to open up to some other mirror someplace else. And yeah, but like I said, I knew it needed more than that, and so that's where the adding.
I like that. Can we work those into being able to work in this?
If I can find them, my notes were extensive. Like
Nuh-uh.
they were this class is written up like a 3.5 class.
Nuh-uh.
With you need these things, you get these things at this level, and
with all the prerequisites.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if I can find them, we could definitely try to see if there's a way to make them into 5th edition stuff. So
excellent. We'll look forward to that too.
Yeah. So if I can find them.
But now that's a big if. I mean, Bobby has.
No, for the record, they're in one of 3 places. I just got to look.
Oh, okay.
It's a matter of if I still have them, not if I can find them.
Well, Bobby has a very extensive collection of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a curator, is what he is.
Yeah, that's probably not an understatement.
He just doesn't show his wares to the public.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm done then.
All right. Well, in that case, you folks know what time it is. If you liked what you heard, hit the like, subscribe, share it around, make some comments. Definitely make some comments, because Brad definitely wants some feedback. I want to see feedback.
True.
And that is our main mode of interaction here, and that's kind of what we're hoping for.
And again, shout out to Charbroil Beefcake for being that dude so far.
Yes, and some of the other folks have made some comments that, although I should have written your names down, and I apologize for that, some of your comments have found their way into what we're doing. So definitely,
true. And
definitely
I'm sorry I don't remember those names either.
So yeah. Do all the things that you know to do on YouTube if you liked it, and if you don't, let us know what you thought was wrong. But otherwise, we will see you folks next time.